Daniel O'Daniels for...
The teams break, and we can now take a check on the numbers and the lineups. And as I said, Crystal Palace are absolutely unchanged. Steve Coppell electing to keep Ian Wright in reserve on the bench, even though he played him in a practice match yesterday. So Phil Barber keeps his place wide, having come off on Saturday, and we'll see the tactical formation unfold when the game gets underway. But it's the same two substitutes, Wright and Madden. As for Manchester United, well, Alec Ferguson made up his mind before today, but kept it a tight secret, especially from the morning papers. The 10 outfield players are the same. Gary Pallister is fit after intense treatment on his ankle, but the big news is that Jim Leighton is dropped. And Les Sealey, on loan from Luton, after only 2 senior matches this season, both for Manchester United, at 32 years of age, gets a surprise call-up, although he has played at Wembley before for Luton in the Littlewoods Cup and the Seamod Cup finals. Do you see, Trevor, any great tactical implications tonight compared to Saturday?
I would think both sides will start off exactly the same. I think from Crystal Palace's point of view, Mark Wright was a little bit isolated in that first half. Of course, he's used to playing with his old partner Ian Wright, and I think they didn't really join him enough, and they got their goal from a set piece. And their free play, there he is, clapping hands, probably thinking to himself, I hope I do get a bit more support, because I think he will depend on that, as they haven't selected Wright from the off.
Yes, I was talking to Mark Wright at the hotel last night. He was very disappointed in his own performance, actually, as was Andy Gray. They're hoping to do better tonight, but Manchester United in red and white have kicked off and are playing from right to left in the first half. And immediately Richard Shaw pushes in on Neil Webb, and Sulaco picks up McClare. That was how it was on Saturday. This is Steve Bruce, and there goes Mark Hughes. Andy Thorne was with him. That's the first foul of the night, and it was Steve Bruce who felt it. Bruce again. Offside, was he, Hughes? Wright's there, so is Barber. Pardew closing in, and so was Mark Wright. And that's the first test for Les Sealey, and the United players are furious. It was a rough and tumble challenge, and I suspect it'll mean a booking. Mark Wright was the player who went in, and heavily he did too, and Les Sealey's stunned before he's really had a chance to make a save or get a feel of the ball. It's a booking for Mark Wright. Yellow card. Trevor.
Well, quite right. There was never any danger he was going to get the ball. And as you see, as the ball comes across, Les Sealey really, his first cross, looking to deal with it comfortably, and really went up with his feet and his hands. And to be fair, when you get a new goalkeeper, especially in a cup final replay like this, usually the manager and the players think to themselves, well, just test him out early on. But I think Mark Wright just reacted a little bit there, and quite rightly ends up in the book early on as well.
I think Matt Busby winced a bit. Years ago in the cup final, United had 2 goalkeepers injured, Ray Wood and Harry Gregg, back in the 50s. But fortunately, Sealey seems to be okay. That's Robson. Here's Lee Martin, number 3, left back. But that's not a bad ball at all for Brian McClare. Across the field. Hughes waiting. Oh, and well taken out by Gary O'Reilly. Wallace was also waiting to pounce. Here's Andy Gray. Wright's through the middle. Pardew just inside. There's Bright. Pallister. And Bright's up with the keeper again, and Les Sealey does well to hold on. They're really trying him out, aren't they? Putting a lot of nervous tension on him and shaking him up in the first few minutes. It's clear that that's a Palace policy. Robson, so much hinges on him tonight. Looking to lift himself again on the big occasion. Hughes gets bundled over. It was Andy Thorne, I think, wasn't it? Alec Ferguson's very unhappy about these tackles, Trevor.
Well, it was another bad tackle. Certainly being spoken to quite rightly, Andy Thorne, because it's the classic from behind through the legs, isn't it? I mean, the ball's played up to Mark Hughes. It's dropped in front of him. Here it is. Stevie Bruce dropped it in. Mark Hughes comes to collect. There's no way through for the defender to get a touch of the ball without chopping the legs first. And that's what he promptly did. And for me, lucky to get away without being booked. And another one I'm sure he will be in.
I don't think Steve Coppell would have approved, really, of that sort of challenge. It's been fairly stormy, this opening period, in that respect. This is a free kick now to be taken for United. Away by Pemberton. Martin. Bruce. Here's Robson. Pemberton. Corner, was it? Yes, it's out.
It's just an indication of this little bit of extra nervousness in their play this evening, Crystal Palace. That was a straightforward back pass, but John couldn't put out.
Well, McClare's nearly on the line. Palace just hoping to flick it on, and there is Pallister, in fact. Off Webb. Most unusual ricochet, but I don't think it would have mattered. The linesman was flagging for offside, I think. There's Bright to Gray. There was a late challenge there. Free kick. Bright was fouled by Steve Bruce. Bobby Robson, second row from the back. He's made the newspapers today. My Dutch colleague, who's broadcasting for their national television station, seems to think there's some truth in the story about the possibility of PSV Eindhoven. Anyway, more of that another time. Les Sealey's got other things on his mind. A set play for Palace. Right in the thick of it there, Gary O'Reilly and Mark Bright. And Bright's there with Pallister. This is Pardew. Gray. O'Reilly's still forward. Martin. That's good defending. Webb played it a bit short, though. Play on, says Alan Gunn. Bright's making ground in the centre. It's too long for him. Webb. That's a good ball. McClare. Webb again. Ince. Oh, that's taken. That's offence. Number 2 for Alan Pardew. That's got to be a booking, surely. I think he knows.
Quite right as well. There was no question. Paul Ince had skipped, as you see, just toes it past the tackle, tries to ride it. Not able to ride that one. That was what, knee high, quite rightly, second Palace man in the book.
Well, they've got to be very careful here, because that's 2 players early in the game on cautions. And that was unforgivable, really, that challenge, because Ince would have been away. This is Martin to take the free kick for Manchester United. Short. Phelan. Hughes, a good header. McClare. Number 7, Robson. O'Reilly. Ince. Already there's been some pushing and shoving as a free kick again. And this is getting all a little bit bad-tempered, Trevor. It's a pity, really, because Saturday's game was played in such a good spirit. That was on by Gray. Barber's in there. Pemberton. Gray. Bright. Salako coming in far side, so is Barber. There is Barber. Both the midfield players are in there as well, Thomas and Pardew. That was Thomas. This is Salako. Seeley makes his first good save. But he's got to work hard now at the set play. It's a corner kick. Now Thorne and O'Reilly have taken up the near post positions. Barber's on the goal line. Here's Bright. There's Barber. Thorne goes in with O'Reilly. Can Hughes break? Shut them off well. United are away with Ince. On the left-hand side, Neil Webb, number 8. And Ince has made a terrific run through the inside left position, but well checked by 2 defenders. Robson. Martin. Webb again. Not the cross that he was hoping to produce as Pemberton challenged. There's the young man who came on with such devastating effect on Saturday, Ian Wright, but back on the bench to start tonight. Bright, Barber. Bright goes again, handball was it? Free kick given. Now there's danger here. Jeff Thomas and Alan Pardew and Andy Gray gathered round the ball. Gray would love a strike. 20 minutes gone, and he's placing it. This is all part of the ploy by Crystal Palace to delay the free kick being taken. And it's Gray! Oh, saved by Seeley's legs! That's a good stop. It may even be a brilliant stop. There's a foul anyway. Now Palace are protesting because it seemed to me that Jeff Thomas was fouled. Now what's Alan Gunn given? Or was there an earlier offence? Or is it merely a throw-in? Crowd still buzzing with the save. It was Thomas who was fouled. It must be a free kick, surely, which it will now be. And Barber to take it. Now they've got Thorne still in there, and O'Reilly. And Bright. Bright gets to the back post, that's out, goal kick. And I think we can now praise Les Seeley, Trevor, for a fine save from Andy Gray.
It was a particularly good save. It's an awful wall that goes through the gap, and really, it was very fortunate for Manchester United. It was almost straight at Les Seeley. He fell on it well, it bounced off his knees more than anything, his shins, but he wouldn't have seen it because they had 6 in the wall, but it came right through the middle.
And Robson's in there, and it came off O'Reilly. Ince tries to make it. Oh, that's a bad challenge again, Andy Gray. Well, Alan Gunn certainly got a harder game on his hands here than he had on Saturday. It's a free kick to United. Pallister has moved up, so has Bruce. still Pallister and Bruce. Webb drove it! Oh, so close from Neil Webb. That came with 10 minutes left in the first half, and it was a good effort from the England player. Trevor.
That was a great free kick right over the wall, and there's a few the other side, possibly even on the bench, who might momentarily have thought they'd gone in the net, but it was a good kick, and certainly if it had crept in that near post, Nigel Martyn wouldn't have stood a chance, really, because he, quite rightly, he's covering the other side of the goal, and it was perfectly flighted just over the top of the wall.
So it's still 0-0 in this close cup final. Pallister, Ince. Well, United really are trying to play a bit tonight. They've got Webb going to the right now, being pursued by Richard Shaw. They need support in the middle. And who's there? Brian Robson, of all people, of course, hooking it back in. Hughes couldn't make it. Amazing how Robson gets in there ahead of the strikers. McClair. Webb. Hughes. Well, the ground that Robson made there, Trevor, so typical.
Well, his best move, really, of the match so far. Great ball from Paul Ince, midfield. He found Neil Webb, who whipped in a really good early cross.
Bruce. Phelan. McClair's made a run down the right, but that's not a good enough ball to find him. McClair. Corner given. Right at the end of the first half. Phelan's leaving it for Danny Wallace. Pallister is well forward. Bruce is in there. Here's Ince. Good play by Paul Ince. Tries to put McClair in. And Seeley waits for that to come through quite comfortably. He's been fairly well protected. And we're into time added on for stoppages at the end of the first half. And it's Paul Ince who's down. And there will be a moment's delay because the Manchester United physio is on the pitch. Well, he seems to be enjoying himself. We're well into stoppage time at the end of the first half, and there'll be a bit more now for the injury to Paul Ince. That's as the camera looks across from the far side by the Royal Box, and of course it's from there that the cup will be presented tonight in some, or to one of these two teams, whatever happens in the second half, or indeed in extra time if we have it, with the possibility of penalties still looming large. Here's Robson. And Ince is not happy at all, he's hobbling, which might be a blow for Manchester United. He'll be glad to get back to the dressing room, I would think. That's any sign. Here's Webb. And Alan Gunn blows to bring the first half to a close. Not a particularly memorable one, I have to say. Very few scoring opportunities, if any. Alec Ferguson saw his goalkeeper make one save from the free kick by Andy Gray as the ball came through the wall, which would be a relief to Les Seeley, who seems to be quite happy and has shown good temperament. But the two teams still cannot be parted at this stage of the FA Cup final replay. At half-time, the score is Crystal Palace 0, Manchester United 0. Well, the players have left the tunnel for the start of the second half. We shall see Manchester United emerging in just a few minutes. But while we're waiting, having had a chance to see again what happened after Les Seeley's save from Andy Gray, I do believe we had a penalty incident that needs to be looked at again. I actually feel, it's a personal view, Trevor, this on my part, that here we're going to see Jeff Thomas brought down by Brian McClair inside the area. And I think here there's a real clear-cut case for a penalty. I'm going to ask you whether you agree in a moment, but just watch this. The ball is in the area, the players are in the area. Now, did he play the ball first? Because I have to say this, a free kick was given, so the referee thought it was an offence. And if that's right, then it was inside the area, wasn't it?
Well, I must say, I didn't think there was any doubt that it was a free kick. As you see, the ball comes out, and Jeff Thomas will just nudge it away. He makes the first contact. Brian McClair then slides in, definitely brings his left foot down. And at the time, my initial reaction, as was the linesman, was it probably was just outside the area. But there's no question that, in fact, contact was inside. And I must say, although probably at the time they were running away from the goal, there's not the danger. Strictly speaking, it caught down, it was a trip, and there's Brian McClair. At the time, probably very relieved, I should think, that it was given outside.
Well, that's one talking point, isn't it? But there's another one involving Paul Ince, because he doesn't look fit at all to me. He's going to try and run that off, I suspect, because just look at that. Robson and the manager are going to have a conference here, because Ince doesn't look happy at all. And the England and Manchester United captain is obviously going to be asked for his opinion.
The interesting selection, if he does come off, was whether he plays safe himself with Clayton Blackmore, does take a bit of a gamble and brings on the extra striker, Mark Robins.
Maybe they'll give it 5 or 10 minutes, Trevor, and just see, because he's not going off at the moment. So at the start of the second half, there's no score in the FA Cup final replay at Wembley. And Crystal Palace are playing now from right to left. And this is Lee Martin. Free kick given, and Mark Hughes, Gary O'Reilly. Hughes is all right again. Bruce is making his way forward. Driven long towards Hughes. He's trying to hold it up and turn. And bundled over, my word. This is Wallace. And there's a break on. If he can keep it in, and he has, and they're trying to get Thomas forward in the middle. And that's a good sliding challenge by Pallister to stop Bright. So it's a corner to Palace at the beginning of the second half, and Thorne and O'Reilly make their way towards the near post. Gray's in there as well. Gray and Seeley. Thomas, wide again to Barber. And they're still queued up in the centre. O'Reilly's in there. Solarco. Brian Robson, the last man back. And now I think it's Mark Bright that's gone down, following a challenge by Steve Bruce. Well, it's all rather hectic, helter-skelter stuff, and Steve Coppell's team still sticking to their original tactics. As the United fans try to lift their side, Webb is still being shadowed by Richard Shaw. There's no change in that. Solarco still playing left back on McClair. Pemberton still marking Wallace. This is Pallister.
Again, as he's bringing it through, quite right, Gary Pallister, but as we're making the point with just Mark Hughes there, it's a little bit predictable as well.
Bruce. Robson's to his left. Well, maybe it'll be a defensive player that finally breaks through, because the lone strikers are pretty well marked, as Jimmy Hill said. They've got to get people up in support. Significantly enough, it was Salako, who's playing left-back, who had that good shot in the first half, which Seeley did so well to deal with. There's John Salako. Jeff Thomas, good play with his left foot. Ince challenging well as they scrap it out in midfield, and United come away with the ball. McClair. Wallace. Bruce. Alistair. Webb. This is Ince. And Robson's made a good through run. It's still Ince. He's trying to find a better angle. Wallace. Signs that Ince is back at full pace. Phelan. Oh, well, the linesman's back. It's still Phelan, though. There was a foul, a bad foul, actually, when the ball had gone, but the referee played an advantage. United are protesting about that. I think it might have been Salako who brought him down. It's Danny Wallace. And Brian Robson's angry and Ince is angry because they think the free kick should have been given. But the linesman said foul. Alan Gunn saw that United still had Phelan in possession and wanted to play on an advantage. That's the reason for the argument. Now, Danny Wallace was the player who was hurt. Michael Phelan plays the first ball down the line. Now, there's the foul. But you'd see the flag up, but Alan Gunn says play on, and he was in a good position, Phelan, and United wouldn't have complained if a goal had resulted, so they can't have it both ways, can they, Trevor?
I totally agree with Alan Gunn, the referee. There's no doubt Michael Phelan had a couple of yards away from his marker and just couldn't quite get his cross in, but he should have really made it perhaps tell more than he did. But it was a nasty tackle. Salako, Danny Wallace, who for me has had a disappointing game because he's really the one winger, the one wide person, and half a dozen times when he's had a 1-against-1, he hasn't been able to go past his man, and that's really what he's in the side for.
10 minutes gone in the second half. Webb with the throw. McClair's in there, so is Ince. It wouldn't fall for him. Webb. And it wouldn't fall for him either, as Barber clears for Palace. Bruce. Square of him is Pallister. As United keep possession, they could work it out the other side if he can find Hughes, and he can. Oh, well, off. Dear, oh dear. Gary O'Reilly, that's another piece of gamesmanship, I have to say. Hughes was turning away from his man, and it was a foul, as indeed was the one that was booked in the first half. It's O'Reilly, he's not been cautioned. And the whistles round the stadium reflect that the flow of play was broken up again, and Mark Hughes was the victim. However, it's a free kick to Manchester United this time. It's a test for Nigel Martin, maybe, as Pallister goes forward. Brian Robson has placed the ball. It's about 30 yards out. Robson. Bruce comes in. Couldn't get the touch on it that was needed. Thomas. Phelan looks for Hughes. Thorne is with him, and that's Salako.
Mark Hughes looking back, but really he and his Manchester United teammates have got to make sure they don't get ruffled like they did for a little spell in that first half. They've got to keep playing their football, because at the moment it's Crystal Palace who are trying to do the spoiling tactics.
Not all the fouls have been one way. I have to be fair about that. Was a foul by Brian Robson on the far side. So it's a free kick now to Palace. There's the Palace bench with Ian Brancourt and Alan Smith alongside Steve Coppell, hoping maybe that Gary O'Reilly or Mark Bright can get on the end of this. Barber's in there with them. O'Reilly was in the thick of it, so was the referee as it happens, Thomas. And a break by Webb. And they've got 4 up, Manchester United here. To his right, Danny Wallace. McClair in the middle with Hughes. And not the cross you would want from Danny Wallace in that position, Trevor, was it? Really disappointing. Ballister. Now, are we going to see a goal in this Cup final replay? It's also very, very tight, isn't it? There's never been a 0-0 in a Wembley FA Cup final. Up to now. Here's Gray. Brian Robson bustling in. Then Lee Martin. And Gray appeals to the referee. He's angry now. In fact, it's all a bit tense, isn't it, Trevor?
Well, he got the free kick. I'm not sure what he was complaining about there.
Ince having to hurdle another tackle. And now McClair. He's into the centre much more than the second half. You know, he's moved in from the right-hand side, Brian McClair, and he's having some good play and some good touches. This is Wallace. Webb. Lee Martin from left-back, an inspired run on the far side. A chance here, and a goal! What a tremendous run! And Manchester United have taken the lead, and Lee Martin made a run from left-back that was, what, 40, 50 yards, took it on his chest and smashed it with his right foot past Nigel Martin, and after an hour's play, Manchester United are in front in the cup final because Andy Gray couldn't get to him, and it's the roof of the net. And Lee Martin, I only ever remember him scoring once before in the first team, Lee Martin. Certainly it wasn't this season, and United have taken the lead after 1 hour's play. But wait a moment, here's Bright. And here's Pardew, and Brian Robson gets knocked over. That's a free kick, and it's a chance to say to Trevor Brooking, what about the goal? It was a man from the back, wasn't it?
Quite right, and really, I would think that 50-yard pass by Neil Webb has probably booked his ticket to the Italy World Cup. It was a magnificent pass. Lee Martin did very well to chest it, kept his head, rifled it into the roof of the net, and possibly, as that ball switched play brilliantly, chested it down. Andy Gray just had allowed him to get the wrong side of him. He's just about to put his hands on his head because he knows he just lost concentration briefly there. There's Brian Robson exercising his shoulder. Let's hope that's not his World Cup one of 3 or 4 years ago. But
I think we ought to have another look at that, Trevor. You know, this could be the Brian Robson shoulder unless he's careful. It was a high challenge, in my view, by Mark Bright. And Brian went down in a real heap. And it looks to me as though Jim McGregor has got him back on his feet. But there was a moment when I think Bobby Robson's heart would have stopped there when Brian went over, particularly on that shoulder. Well, for the moment, Lee Martin is the hero of Wembley. A lad from Hyde in Cheshire, right on United's doorstep. The local boy has scored. 22 years of age. And more trouble now involving Mark Hughes. The yellow card's out again. And this has been, by cup final standards, a bad-tempered game. Make no mistake about that. There were bookings in the first half for 2 Palace players, Bright and Pardew, and now it's Mark Hughes, who was involved in a scuffle off the ball, just lost his cool completely. Well, here's the lad who made the difference when he came on in the first game, and it's going to be a similar substitution. Barber off and Ian Wright on. Can he do the trick again for Crystal Palace? He'll play up front with Bright. Change of formation, possibly. Well, are Manchester United going to make it 7 wins in the FA Cup? Sir Matt Busby certainly hopes so. They're in front at the moment. In this, their 11th FA Cup final, equaling that particular record. But Crystal Palace will have other ideas. There are 4 of them gathered around here in the middle for this free kick for where it drops. United have decided to try and push up a little bit. Gray and Bright and Wright closing in as Pallister half clears. Corner. Corner kick. Thorne and O'Reilly are on the post. Wright is in there, so is Gray. O'Reilly, oh, it didn't run for him. He scrambled against Seeley's legs. And very, very close. The goalkeeper takes credit again. Les Seeley was in the right place. Andy Gray, I think, was the player that almost scored for Steve Coppell's team there. I think it was his low shot that Seeley just got to in the crowd. It was very, very close. You can see from this, watch Gray number 4 there in the crowd. There's O'Reilly. It comes off Webb. That's Gray. It was Gray. Bruce, Seeley, maybe even a post. Thorne, Ince. O'Reilly and Hughes. Ince. Can he take it on from here? Maybe Webb can. It's Neil Webb's shot. Now, Neil Webb made the goal. No question about that. And it really was good appreciation of what was happening on the other side of the pitch, because what was happening was Lee Martin had sneaked in ahead of Andy Gray. And that's a fabulous move, really, by Manchester United, the best of the match. And it was seen what was on by the England player. That wasn't very charitable either, was it? Andy Gray on Les Seeley. 1-0 then to United is the situation here. In the replay. Can Palace pull it round? This is Webb. And Leclerc's made a very good run from left to right. He's in the box now. Just squeezed his shot in, but without any power.
From Crystal Palace's point of view, because the onus is on them, they're hitting those long balls at the moment, aren't they?
Here's Bright. And Seeley has gone down. But the goalkeeper, as Bob Wilson was saying, showing no sign of nerves. And referee wants a word with Mark Bright about the challenge on him. Bright, bear in mind, was cautioned in the first half. And Les Seeley needs attention in the evening setting now of Wembley Stadium, as Les Seeley, this unlikely hero, if it works out that way, who was brought into the side in quite unusual circumstances as an on-loan goalkeeper. Alan Gunn is making quite sure that he's okay to continue. Well, the United fans are already singing their songs. It may be premature, because as we've seen in the semi-final and on Saturday, you don't take anything for granted against Crystal Palace. That was off the head of Andy Thorne. Well, I wonder whether the two England players in midfield can keep their grip on this match. Webb with the throw, Robson making the run. They're very involved. You can see them there, look. Flags up. Yes, Brian Robson was fouled. He's right in the thick of it, as always. Now, Mark Hughes and Brian Leclerc are over on the far side of the area where Robson is going now. Neil Webb to take the free kick. They're not risking anybody else forward. Significantly, Bruce and Pallister have stayed back for this one. Robson! Oh, against the bar! And nobody able to seize on the rebound for United, but Lee Martin did in the end, and Robson's there again. Well, I don't know what you can say about the England captain that hasn't been said so many times before. So close to making it 2-0. Here's Salako. Well, that would have been all over, wouldn't it, if he'd put that one in, Trevor?
He's had an excellent game, Brian Robson, very inspiring. It was a magnificent header when you think Gary Pallister and Steve Bruce weren't up for the first time and they suddenly got a header in the penalty area.
Wallace's cross, and it's going away harmlessly. Well, this is the free kick taken by Neil Webb, one England player. We were just mentioning the pair of them a moment ago. Here's Robson, who wins it really well, and the goalkeeper, well, he was a spectator, Nigel Martin, because the header was so good, but it came back off the bar. Right, offside. He's offside. It was Andy Gray who was through. They were off their seats back there in the crowd, but the linesman on the Royal box side, Larry Watson, was flagging. Well, Manchester United must make sure they don't flag now, because the FA Cup is a little nearer, perhaps even than it was on Saturday, to Old Trafford. They think so. Offside. Just over 10 minutes of normal time, and David Madden's going to come on in a moment for Crystal Palace. I think it's John Salako who's going off. So Madden has 10 minutes in which to try and help force extra time. O'Reilly's still well forward, so is Bright. He took a tumble. Phelan wants it to run, but he'll have to play it at some point. Andy Gray storming across to try and take the long throw, I think. Bright and Wright are staying in the box, shaping up to face the thrower. Seeley comes with a punch. Madden drove it. Gray again. Back in. And McClair needs to do something here for United. Didn't he just? Anyway, there was a free kick given.
Good defensive header just now as well by Gary Pallister. He's had a much better game this evening. I think there was some doubt with his ankle, but I think Alex Ferguson will be relieved that he is fit because he's had an excellent match.
This is Webb. Wallace, Ince, who's actually shaken off his injury in the second half. Webb again. Phelan. Forward by Richard Shaw. Bright's up there again, so is Gray. Whistle's gone, there was a foul. Palace again just leaving the foot there. It was Gary Pallister who was injured.
But again, the strikers for Palace are having to really fight for, well, 50-50 balls at best, and really they're cannon fodder for United defenders. I would like to see them just vary it, and not one or two in particular to Ian Wright's feet. At the moment, he's come on and really hardly had a touch when you think of the devastating effect he had on Saturday. This evening there he is, and I mean, probably just really he hasn't been able to get in the game at all, and whilst, you know, people are saying, well, why didn't you touch the ball, the service into him hasn't been good.
Header was by Thorne, then O'Reilly. This is Thomas. Oh, well, that was Phelan to Bruce and back again. Ince. Wallace has gone to the right. It's still Paul Ince taking them on. Just going one too many against Andy Thorne, who beats him. There are 7 minutes to go of the 90. It's Manchester United 1, Crystal Palace 0 in the FA Cup replay of 1990. Scorer Lee Martin on 60 minutes. Ince.
The trio there, Paul Ince, Neil Webb and Brian Robson, has been much more influential as a unit this evening than they were on Saturday, and I think that's been the key area tonight, because it's given them the domination and the composure to knock it from the back and build up slowly, and certainly I think that's been the important area.
I think also McClare's played really well. I don't quite know what that means in Scotland terms, but you'd think he was a contender for the World Cup on this form. This is Wallace. Webb. Still Webb. Hughes is waiting in the centre. And there are 6 minutes to go, and it's a goal kick. Well, so much has happened on the road to Wembley this season in front of our cameras. Semi-finals and finals full of fluctuating moments. We can't say that this is over yet. Crystal Palace have got Wright, Bright and Gray operating as a trio up front now. That's Pallister. Got a whack for his trouble. This is Madden. Oh, look at that going on there. It's Andy Gray and Gary Pallister. Bright says get on with the game, which is pretty good advice. Andy Gray seems to have lost it a bit. But it's wide to Pemberton, and there's trouble here. Oh, he's overrun it. Well, that was going to be a promising moment, I think, Trevor.
Yes, he's in such a hurry to try and get into good position, get the cross in, but a little bit tense, and it really went over the touchline comfortably. Perhaps the early cross was the one there, because Manchester United are pushing up, trying to play the offside themselves, and if you whip them in early, there's a little exchange that has been going on for a minute or two, isn't there, between Pallister and Gray. Perhaps Pallister suggesting, reminding Andy Gray what the scoreline is. In those circumstances, that's sometimes tossed in.
Well, I think what happens, Trevor, is Andy Gray has got a fairly low flash point, and he is known to sort of just occasionally get carried away, and Gary Pallister and he were at it a bit there, which Alan Gunn knew, and I think just wanted to take the sting out of the situation, really. It hasn't been as easy for the referee tonight as it was in the first game. He's done pretty well, I think. Danny Wallace and Richard Shaw. McClare. Good challenge by Pardew. 4 minutes to go of the 90. I keep saying of the 90 because don't forget, we're still in with a chance of extra time if Palace score. This is Bruce. Madden. Shaw. That's Bright up there, lurking. Phelan. But Alex Ferguson his heart must be thumping when he knows how near he is now. Thorne, O'Reilly. Phelan's got to watch right, he's still full of invention. Madden, well played by him. Gray. Pemberton. Bright in the middle with Wright. United win it and work it. McClare, not a very good ball for Hughes. That was really given away. Just when I said how well McClare was playing, he's in a bit of trouble, and that's offside. 3 minutes, Trevor.
Well, there's a man, I'm sure he knows. There he is, just checking, make sure it hasn't stopped, but it is still ticking away, Alex, I assure you. But those 3 minutes will take a long time to go past. But I think overall on the game, you have to say United deserve to be ahead. I mean, Crystal Palace have had a wonderful cup run, and themselves on Saturday came so close, what, 6 or 7 minutes? There they were ahead 3-2, and then Mark Hughes got them back. But tonight, I don't think they've played as well, as confidently, and has really given the ball away too quickly. They've not been able to string a few passes and settle on the ball themselves at all.
This is Gray. All the way back to Martin. We make it 2 minutes. This is Wright. Forward by Thorne. And they're piling in on the far side here, and Manchester United have got a bit of defending to do yet. That was Lee Martin, the goal scorer, who got the ball away. Steve Coppell was the man who threw it back, not surprisingly. That's Bright with the flick on, away by Pallister. Now, can it be held here? Oh, that's good football by Mark Hughes. This is Michael Phelan. Wallace. Trying to hold it up a bit for United. Well, Wallace thought it should have been a corner. The linesman said no. There's a minute to go. Still, they've got the three lined up front, Crystal Palace. That's aimed at Bright. And it's flicked on, looking for Gray. Ince. Webb. They're trying to cut off the pass back, but Les Sealey was ready for it.
Yeah, one feature of tonight's game, which I haven't enjoyed, has been most of the players have always, whenever a decision's been given, they've felt they've got to back chat the linesman or a referee, and I hope all the watching youngsters looking in at the game tonight don't try and copy that, because it's not been a good example this evening.
Celebration has started up there. He still knows so much about the game that he won't take it for granted yet, Sir Matt. Shaw. Ince. Madden. We've played the 90 minutes, we're into stoppage time. Jeff Thomas challenged by Paul Ince. Thorne. O'Reilly. Now Gray is chasing this, so is Bright there. And there's Wright with a chance. Wright, side netting. And it might be fair to say Les Sealey had it covered anyway. But their hearts would have been in their mouths down there. Archie Knox and Alex Ferguson. Brian Kidd makes a point from behind. But look at this here. Ian Wright still a threat. Yes, he had it covered. Alan Gunn checks his watch. Robson for United. And Hughes chasing. And what's going to happen here? Well, he's running to the goalkeeper. We've played a minute of stoppage time already. The referee says to Mark Hughes, calm down. Flag up on the far side. Offside. It isn't the final whistle. It's an offside. Manchester United have won the FA Cup and equalled the record of 7 outright wins. Palace slumped to the ground. Manchester United celebrate Alex Ferguson's first major trophy at Old Trafford. Thanks to a goal by a home-produced player. He spent £13 million and the lad who got the goal didn't cost a penny. The England captain outstanding. And Manchester United have the time to console unhappy Palace players who've given so much on Saturday, but Steve Coppell's team finally made to look second best as the Manchester United supporters salute a most unlikely man with a Cup Winners' medal, Les Sealey. Who would have believed this a week ago? He came in place of Jim Leighton and did everything that was asked of him. And an on-loan goalkeeper facing a free transfer has won an FA Cup Winners' medal. And just look at that man's face. The years seem to have fallen away there from Alex Ferguson after a season of torment and tribulation. He embraces his players because this victory, well, they had to win it in many ways, didn't they, Trevor? And Pallister came through as well with flying colours.
Well, I think the experienced men did him proud this evening. Gary Pallister, I thought, had an excellent game at the back, won a lot of the balls in the air, and to be fair, Crystal Palace did concentrate on hitting the long ball in, and with his height, Gary Pallister did dominate there. So Webb will be pleased, but there, Lee Martin, I wouldn't like to know what the odds were on him being the opening goal scorer tonight, but I shouldn't think there's going to be many collecting their winning bets.
And we got a glimpse there of the famous old trophy, didn't we? The road to Wembley is finally over, and Sir Matt Busby sees Manchester United win the FA Cup at Wembley that is, for the 6th time, and that in itself is a record. For Andy Gray, there's only desolation. Palace players, some of them in tears. They didn't play as well tonight as they played on Saturday, or indeed anywhere near as well as they can play. But Manchester United, who produced some good football in trying circumstances, have won the FA Cup again, and the biggest fan club in the world, they call it, salutes Alex Ferguson. And here's another moment of history, because Brian Robson becomes the first captain in the history of the FA Cup to receive the trophy 3 times for one club, and certainly the first at Wembley to pick it up 3 times. Captain of England, captain of Manchester United, Captain Marvel, 33 years of age. An outstanding personal performance again as he leads the team up the steps before leading England in the World Cup. That's the other side of the story. That's an ex-Manchester United supporter, John Pemberton, but not happy with the fact that they've won tonight for obvious reasons. So Brian Robson goes up to receive the most famous trophy in football for a record 3rd time. Manchester United equal the record of Aston Villa and Tottenham Hotspur. They win the FA Cup for the 7th time. Behind Brian Robson come the other players with the winners' medals. Mark Hughes, Les Sealey, he can't believe it, look at that. Extraordinary story, isn't it? Really is. Neil Webb, who made the goal and may have made the World Cup 22. In the picture there. Steve Bruce, Michael Phelan, Danny Wallace. And as for Lee Martin, he couldn't have believed, surely, that he'd be the man to score the winning goal. Gary Pallister came through, and Brian McClare, as Palace sportingly applaud the victors. I would feel probably it's relief that Manchester United are experiencing just at the moment, as well as elation. That trophy's been a long time coming. No need for extra time, no need for penalties. The Cup won tonight in 90 minutes by Brian Robson's Manchester United. And now the losers going up for their medals. Jeff Thomas, a Manchester boy himself. Well, they offered so much in the FA Cup this season, especially in the semi-final and again on Saturday. But in the end, it'll be losers' medals for Crystal Palace as Jeff Thomas leads them forward. The first medal he's had since he was a 10-year-old schoolboy, he was telling me, but it's not a winner's medal. Nigel Martin, Andy Thorne, who won with Wimbledon but loses here. Gary O'Reilly, who scored in the first game. They're chanting Steve Coppell's name, the supporters, because they appreciate that this really is something of a fairy story, even getting to Wembley. And the players have got a lot to look back on as they prepare to go on a tour to the West Indies. But my mind just focuses on the man who scored the goal, because if there was an unlikely player to get the winner, it was left-back Lee Martin, and I think Barry Davies has caught up with him already.
Well, Craig, we'll keep the pictures going from Wembley, but what's going through the players' minds right now? You've been there.
Oh, Manchester United, fantastic. I wonder what poor old Jim Leighton's feeling, though. It's all right, Seeley there, waving and this and that. He was on a free transfer last week. He's won a cup final. I'm just thinking about poor old Jim Leighton. Very interesting to see when Stevie Coppell ran into the tunnel. It wasn't so much the oh, nice jig. Reminds me of, I think he got that off Bruce Grobbelaar.
Oh dear, needs dancing lessons.
Yeah, it wasn't so much the Palace fans that were